Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of PowerCore Productions and Podcastings. And in a special Saturday edition, we are going to be doing Konosuba, the last shinobi of the wonderful world. What if Madara Uchiha was reincarnated in Konosuba, the movie Heart of Crimson? As always, if you are new to the channel or if you're a regular and like what we have to offer, then please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and hit that bell for post notifications so you can stay up to date on everything that is PowerCore Productions and Podcastings that has to come out now and in the future. So I'm sure a lot of you guys will be excited for today's movie, and like I've said before, this series is going to be coming back when we get Konosuba Season 3. But there's a lot more to the Konosuba universe that we can explore in the near future. And I'm sure many of you are going to be having a lot of guesses based off of the thumbnail that you'll see on the video before you watch it. But stay tuned and pay close attention to everything that goes on in this world, because you never know. We might be back here a lot sooner than you might think. Because if there's one thing that's for certain, when it comes to dealing with a multiverse of any kind, Aqua will find a way to screw it up. But anyway, without further ado, let's get into today's video. So, as always, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Sitting in the tavern in the city of Axel, Madara sat at the lunch table, along with Kazuma, Megumin, Darkness, and Aqua. They all reeked of a fishy smell, their clothes just barely having a chance to dry as they settled down after today's rather troubling events, in what will become known as the Great Tuna Incident. It was supposed to be so simple. All they had to do was clear out some monsters around where some of the springs were and where the tuna grew. Well, thanks to Megumin, most of the monsters, if not all of them, were clear, although she almost ended up reducing the tuna population to absolute zero. Thankfully, Tobirama was there to clean up the mess, although he just took the opportunity to bring up Madara and his shortcomings. And he sat down at the table alongside them, berating them for how they acted, chewing out almost everyone. Of course, Kazuma was, well, decent, but even still, it didn't stop him from being prone to making mistakes either. Madara was getting tired of this and wasn't really in the mood for Tobirama and his antics. Well, if you're going to be the self-proclaimed hero of this world, then I will expect you and your team to conduct themselves a lot better. Tobirama, you're not even a part of this team, Madara would say. So why the hell are you always around all of us? To make sure that you're not causing trouble for Lady Aqua. Thank you, Tobirama, Aqua would say. I don't want to hear from you, would say Madara. What good are you if you're just going to be something that slows us down all the time? That is no way to speak to Lady Aqua. I don't have to take this from her shining knight in armor. If you want to stick up for her all day, then why don't you two go and form a party all to yourselves? A likely idea. Trying to cast off Lady Aqua to fend for herself after a mess you caused dragging her into this situation. You are just something else, Madara would say. The doors would burst open as Yun came walking in. Kazuma was going through a bit of an identity crisis at the moment, Madara looking to the kid, asking what was wrong, although saying kid was kind of relative at this point. Even if Madara had the experience of a man over hundreds of years old, he was still stuck in the body of a pubescent teen, so to a degree, he kinda understood where Kazuma was coming from. Kazuma's issue stemmed from the fact that he thought he was going to be in the popular phase of his life by now, after being reborn into a new world, although he ended up screwing himself over because when Aqua gave him the choice of what weapon he wanted to take, the weapon he took, well, what did he take exactly? To be honest, he doesn't even remember. He ended up selling it because apparently it was absolutely useless. Yeah, all of those weapons, and this is what happens when you don't read the fine print. In other words, Kazuma just wanted something interesting to happen in his life, and that interest came when Yun Yun came to the table, looking to Kazuma with a stern face as she asked him, Kazuma? Yeah, Yun Yun? I want you to have my baby! Oh yeah, Kazuma thought. My popular phase has now begun. An immediate meeting was called at the mansion, where they'd have to go over everything that was going on. Apparently, Yun Yun had gotten a letter from her father explaining that the home of the Crimson Demons was in peril and that it was up to her as the last surviving member of the race to meet with a man who was lazy and not full of ambition or drive, to have a child, a son who would one day grow up to defeat the Devil King. Kazuma didn't really care much for the letter. If this was his way of getting to romance and passion, he was ready to take it. However, Megumin in Darkness, but especially Megumin, was not keen on letting that happen so easily. Kazuma already has pants down and was ready to get down, only for Aqua to pull his pants back up, and Madara telling everyone to sit and to go over the letter once again. While some of the letter was indeed written by Yun Yun's father, the other half seemed like it was written out of a novel. So, however much of it was supposed to be taken seriously, they didn't know. But in either case, they knew that they had to go back to the village of the Crimson Demons to at least make sure that everything was alright. Tobirama, who had been listening in, would make his presence known. If there really was trouble in this land, then they should at least check it out, since it could potentially lead to trouble back to the city of Axel. After thinking it over, deciding that they couldn't just let the Devil King's army do whatever it wanted, they all agreed that they would go. Their bags would be packed, and they would be ready to set themselves off. Thankfully, Madara had some connections. With all the time he spent with Wiz whenever he wasn't with the others, he learned that she had the ability to teleport, a lot more effective than the flying Raijin, Madara might add, only to get a death glare from Tobirama. All the same, as they all prepared to leave, Wiz would see them off happily, and Vanir II, who was also a former Devil King general, would make over the final deal with Kazuma as to some of his inventions that he brought from his world that he was going to sell the licensing rights to make a boatload of money. About 300 million heirs would do. Kazuma could feel the money getting ready to flow in. For Madara, he was at least happy that Kazuma was going to make something of himself in this world. After all, he had gotten his money, well, by pretty much fighting a whole bunch of powerful people. Although, looking back on it, if he could have sold some cheap items from his world and made a boatload of cash, he probably would have done that instead. I mean, what from his world could he have brought with him? Maybe paper bombs? Exploding kunai? Ceiling tags? Whatever. Madara will figure it out later. With that, Wiz would teleport them to the nearest area of the village of the Crimson Demons. As they arrived, though, Madara, Tobirama, and Kazuma would find themselves in a not-so-great situation. You see, a large dust cloud started appearing towards the group. For some reason, when Madara, Tobirama, and Kazuma moved to the side, so did the dust cloud. It's almost like it was charging after them. With that, all three boys would start rushing off immediately. The girls, they weren't even an afterthought, and Megumin feared the worst. It was a pack A pack of female orcs, the muscular pig women chasing after the three boys as they ran for their lives. Even using their enhanced abilities, the orcs were still able to keep up with them. Kazuma lagging behind, third to last, Tobirama in second, and Madara in first. Of course, Madara wanted to fight them all off, but Tobirama warned that they weren't chasing them to be aggressive. It was worse. The girls would chase after the boys, trying desperately to help them. You see, the male orc species went extinct a while ago, and now there were only the female orcs. Because of that, their libido, so to speak, was in high gear. Because of that, they would find any male of any race, species, or creed, and, well, they were sentenced to death by Snoo Snoo. Yes, the spirit might be willing, but the body is fleshy and weak and brittle and bony. A lot of crushed pelvises. But surprisingly enough, a lot of happy smiles. In either case, the boys did not want to be on the receiving end of this death by Orc Snoo Snoo, and they all raced for their lives. Even Madara was starting to become worrisome. If he couldn't kill these orcs, then what exactly was he going to do? Well, he didn't have much time to think. Tobirama used the flying Raijin to try to escape as fast as he could, but no matter where he went to on the field, the orcs were quickly able to pivot and follow after. Madara would use the body flicker technique, but just as quickly as he had gotten away, the orcs just seemed to be right on him. And then there was poor Kazuma. He didn't have any special ability, any special tricks, nothing of that nature. All he had was his luck, and well, call this the luck of the draw to build to his popular phase. Kazuma was the first one tackled to the ground, swarmed by female orcs. Tobirama thought he had escaped at the last moment, only to be speared in mid-air and thrown to the ground. Madara did his best impression of a breakdancer, trying to avoid, duck, and dodge every orc that came his way, except even with the Sharingan studying all of their patterns and being able to dodge every single motion, one orc just happened to find his blind spot, grabbing him by his now long black hair and restraining him as the orc women were, ready to consummate the relationship. Madara, this was not how he wanted to go out. He wanted to rebuild the Uchiha clan, but this is not it. Tobirama was not in a favorable position either. Kazuma, he cried. It all seemed as though hope was lost until a pit of blackness would swallow the orcs, forcing them to retreat. It was Yun. She had come to their rescue, seeing just how troubled off they all were. Kazuma, with his ass half showing out as he sauntered over to Yun and began crying into her robe, crying tears of relief that he had been saved from such a fate. In either regard, all of that attraction would end up summoning some of the army of the Devil King's general. Of course, under normal circumstances, most people, when faced with an army of little demons, gremlins, goblins, and ghouls, and all sorts of unsavory things, they would hightail it and run. However, Madara and his team, they pretty much didn't acknowledge their presence. When the group tried to attack Aqua after Aqua, being the ditzy goddess that she was, decided to talk smack to all of them, they would all quickly be blown away by Tobirama, who was not going to allow anyone to lay a hand on his goddess. Madara couldn't help but shake his head in disbelief. She was just using that poor fool like a attack dog. He was whipped. He'd do anything she said. And he was supposed to be a famed and respected shinobi. Although honestly, was Madara really one to talk? The last time a guy looked at Wiz funny, that guy ended up in the infirmary. Granted, he kinda had it coming. He was peeping on her in the hot springs, but even still, Madara had to learn some restraint. The power of a woman and the power of love will make a man do crazy things, irrational things, like start a war. Trust me, it's not just in the world of Naruto. You'd be surprised how many wars were fought after because a guy was trying to get with a girl. More times than us in history would like to count. It's not our proudest moment. In either case, the other members of the village would arrive after seeing all of the commotion, being reacquainted with Megumin, who had been gone for some time, along with meeting her allies from her party as well. As they walked through the village, Madara got a strange sense of camaraderie, a familiarity, seeing all of the villagers, the Crimson Demons of all sizes, shapes, and ages, roaming about happily amongst themselves. It kind of reminded him of the Uchiha clan to a degree, and it brought him a strange sense of comfort. Madara couldn't help but laugh at Tobirama's uneasiness. You don't have to be so afraid, Tobirama. Their eyes are just naturally crimson. It's not like it's a bunch of Sharingan. I just know that would make your day. Shut up. You talk about me like I have something against the Uchiha in general. Oh, you don't? You and I know very well the power that lies within you. It's not something to be taken lightly. Yeah, whatever. Let's try to find Megumin's house, alright? I'm tired and ready to relax for the day. They would eventually make their way to Megumin's home that was modestly small in size. The door would open as Megumin, who was being carried by Kazuma, would arrive to the door, the young girl being the little sister of Megumin in Komako. Of course, the little sister couldn't help but tease her older sister, yelling to her parents that Megumin had actually snagged herself a man. Of course, making Kazuma and Megumin turn bright red at this. The meeting with the parents was, well, tense to say the least. Madara sipped from his cup of tea without much of a care in the world. Tobirama sitting beside Darkness and Aqua while they played and did party tricks with Komako. And then there was Kazuma. They had heard a lot about Kazuma. You see, in this timeline of events, because Kazuma didn't immediately start off with the group, he was still ingratiating himself to the team. However, out of everyone, Kazuma and Megumin seemed to get along the closest, with Madara keeping a watchful eye on the boy. If anything, he was worried about the girl's safety, but also Kazuma's, believe it or not. After all, one false move with that explosion and Kazuma ended up being incinerated. But even still, Madara had taken to watching over Megumin and everyone like family, with Megumin being like a little sister to him. And like any good, older, responsible big brother, you never want your sister to be caught up with just any guy. Even if you trust that guy wholeheartedly, you were still always cautious. And so were Megumin's parents. That was until the conversation steered to Kazuma's life savings and if he had any prospects, to which when Kazuma talked about the 300 million heiress, well, then the parents were all ears at this. If anything, they became extremely supportive of a relationship that was or wasn't in full confirmation. So much so that Megumin's mother ended up knocking out almost everyone with a insomnia spell, causing them to fall asleep as she ended up locking both Megumin and Kazuma inside the same room. While Megumin laid sound asleep, Kazuma found himself stirring in a frenzy, still standing and pacing all throughout the room, deciding what he should do exactly. Of course, it wasn't like he didn't want to sleep there. After all, it was pretty cold that night. But still, he didn't want something to come up out of this. Before he had a chance to make a decision, though, he would hear a knock on the window. It was opened as Madara stared at him blindly. Madara! You, me, outside, now. Oh God, Kazuma thought. Is he gonna kill me? Kazuma would follow Madara as the two went for a nightly stroll. Not really many words were being spoken between the two of them. It was something Madara had taken notice of for a while now. Nothing except his visual prowess. It wasn't hard to see that Kazuma had some inkling towards Megumin, but what exactly? The two found themselves in an open field just outside the outskirts of the village, as Madara turned back to Kazuma. "Oh God, is this how it ends? He's gonna get rid of me and get rid of the body." Kazuma. Just sit down. Madara would pull from under his robe 2 glasses and a small bottle of sake. Madara wasn't an alcoholic, but he always liked to keep a little bit of a reward for himself. The two sitting down and enjoying their drink as the full moon shined above them. "I'm just gonna get straight to the point. How do you feel about Megumin?" "Huh?" "Look, she has parents, so I'm not trying to oversee my bounds, but it's even obvious to me that sometimes they think a little more with their hearts than with their heads. And whether I like it or not, she's a part of my party, which means I have to be responsible for her and for all of you. And I'll be damned if I'm just going to let anyone walk into her life without knowing their intentions. So I'm asking you, what does Megumin mean to someone like you?" "Oh, well, the thing is, it's not like I dislike her or anything, it's quite the opposite." "But why her? There are other girls all around the village, even in our own party." "I mean, yeah, honestly, I can't see anything in Aqua." "Good, it shows you actually have some brains then. And I mean, there's Darkness also. I mean, I'm not gonna lie and say she's not drop-dead gorgeous, but I just don't feel anything towards her that way. And I mean, Wiz, she's already spoken for. You're damn right. So I mean, yeah, could I probably find any girl? I probably could, but there's just something about Megumin. The way she puts her all into explosions, the way she lights up whenever she accomplishes them. I mean, she's truly something amazing. It's infectious, kinda. I mean, many people might think she's odd, and don't get me wrong, she is, but I don't see it as a bad thing. If anything, it makes me like her even more." "I see. You know, ever since we were thrown in that prison cell together, there was something about you. I don't know how to quite put my finger on it. You're lazy, you're kind of spineless. I wouldn't say you have the heart of a hero. I can honestly say that if it weren't for you coming to my defense, I'd have absolutely no reason to keep you in my party. And yet even still, you always find a way to impress me somehow. Madara, look, whatever it is, you should just tell her. No point in keeping it bottled up inside. However, if she does choose you, if she accepts you, I do want you to know one thing. You better promise me that you'll do everything in your power to be better. And even then, I want you to go beyond that." "Of course I will. I always give it my best. I want more than your best. You understand?" Yeah. Good. Because if you ever hurt her in any way, I'll burn you so bad you won't be able to be revived. And even if you are, and you come back to this world, I'll burn you again, and again, and again, and again, until you either can't come back, or you don't have the heart to. Although, with my enemies, it only takes the one time. Kazuma was happy, fearful, but happy at least. The next day, they would go on a tour of the town. seeing Megumin's old magic academy, and Megumin even busting out her old uniform for the occasion, along with the likes of Yun as well. But they wouldn't be the only ones at the academy as well. There were other alumni who were coming for a visit also. The rather voluptuous author, Atua, the Crimson Demon with a brother complex, Funifuda, and Duranko, the Crimson Demon who didn't have an intro yet. She was still working on it. They also came by to say hello, and seeing some familiar faces in Yun and in Megumin, as well as meeting the members of their party. But that wasn't where the true surprise came. For you see, just on the outside, a boy with white hair with red markings on his cheeks walked in. He wore a white kimono with red trim, along with a black shirt and black trousers. "What's up, my alumni friends? No need to fear. The great Toad Sage Jiraiya has arrived." There was a deathly silence. Jiraiya, the Toad Sage, an old man who died tragically, heroically giving off the last bits of information to help his village in the fight against the Akatsuki. The last thing he remembered was he had multiple black rods shoved in his back, his windpipe had been crushed, oh yeah, one of his arms got blasted off, and he was shot with missiles and was thrown to the bottom depths of the ocean. The next thing he knew, he awoke in his teenage form in front of Aqua, who gave him the request to go and defeat the Devil King. Well, Jiraiya didn't really feel like doing that. He had just gotten revived into a world and he wasn't about to go through more conflict. He stumbled across this village. He had wandered around. He was hungry and close to dying. The villagers took him in. He became one with the Crimson Village, even helped them during an attack. As such, he was welcomed into the academy, where he met a lot of beautiful women. After he graduated, Jiraiya decided to travel and be an author. After all, if he could make some successful hits in his world, why not give it a try here? He was bringing Make-Out Tactics and Make-Out Paradise, the Redux. He was given a second chance at life. He could finally make all of the corrections he never got a chance to in his past life. He was young, in his prime. Granted, he did have to grind to earn skill points to get his power back up, but still, he thought he was in a good position. When hearing about the alumni class meeting together once again, and hearing that Megumin was going to be back in town, he figured he had to come by and say hello. But the last thing he expected was seeing younger versions of Madara Uchiha and Tobirama Senju there and present, along with the goddess Aqua. Hi, Megumin. Jiraiya, it's good to see you again, Megumin would say. These are my friends. This is Aqua, this is Darkness, this here is Kazuma, and this is Madara and Tobirama. Hi. Why do you seem so off-put, Tobirama would say. Yeah, Madara would chime in. It's almost as if you've seen us before or something. What? Seen you before? What are you talking about? I've never seen you a day in my life. Megumin, if you don't mind, I'm just gonna, yeah. Madara and Tobirama were now skeptical. The boy quickly bolted out of the classroom and was starting to run down the road. They had to see for themselves. Both Tobirama and Madara would race out behind him. Madara would throw 3 shuriken towards Jiraiya, as the others would yell out for him to stop. He could stop it in the last second if he had to, but he had to see. Almost as if on reflex, Jiraiya turned, pulling a kunai from under his robes as he struck down all three of the shuriken, precise and with precision, like a shinobi. I knew it. You're a ninja as well, aren't you? So you figured me out. What village do you hail from? Tobirama asked him. The others were now a bit confused as to what was going on, but to the three in question, they were completely aware. Well, no point beating around the bush. Jiraiya would bow to the two of them. I am Jiraiya, the Toad Sage. I come from the village hidden in the leaves. A leaf shinobi? I can't believe it. From what era do you hail from? I hail from the era of Lord Third, Lord Second, Lord Madara. Lord Third, Tobirama would say. So you came from the age of Hiruzen Sarutobi, one of my students. Well, not just that, Jiraiya would say. I was one of the students of Hiruzen Sensei. You were his student? Yeah. Prove it then. Well, how do I do that? Oh yeah! Do you know about the Hidden Leaf Hot Springs incident in the 32nd year? Tobirama's face would turn bright red at this. He told you about that? So it is true! Lord Second, you gotta tell me, how big was... Shut up! I came to a new world hoping that all of that in my past would be left behind. Okay, I believe you. You're a student. Now keep your mouth shut. You're in the presence of a goddess. Madara's ears couldn't help but perk up. Just what sort of tomfoolery were you getting into? Wasn't that during the time of the first Great Ninja War? When the hell did you have time to... Shut up. Look, they were trying times, and I just... Shut up! In either case, why did you try to lie to us? Tobirama would say. Oh, I don't know. It's Madara Uchiha and Hashirama's brother, Tobirama Senju, the master of my master. Both together? That's not a coincidence. I was doing good in this world before I saw more people arrive. Have you met any other shinobi? Madara would ask. No, I haven't. And believe me, the reason why I almost died was because I spent all my time when I first got here doing a search. I mean, I figured she'd have had to have sent some others here, but I never would have imagined she sent you both. She also sent elder brother. What? Jiraiya would say. Lord First is here? Well, what the hell are we waiting for? Why don't we go find him? Come on. I mean, the first and second Hokage, the rival to the first Hokage, the founder and head leader of the Uchiha, and I'm the student of Lord Third. If we all work together, we can run this thing. We can form it. We could... We're not doing any of that, Madara would say. I'm just trying to find Hashirama for old time's sake. Tobirama, obviously because he's his brother. With all due respect, you might have been trained by Hiruzen, but I have no ties to you. Tobirama would nod in agreement. Yes, you weren't around when I died. I take it you were probably still in the academy or something. Oh yeah, I was still just a second year. Honestly, by the time I had gotten out and by the time that I was a student of Lord Third's, well, the first war was kind of drawing to a close and we were still gearing to the second. So, he led the village through 2 great wars, Madara would say? Actually, 3. He only stepped down after the 3rd one was over. 3 ninja wars, Madara would say. You must be very proud. Oh, shut it. If you had it your way, you would have subjugated all of the other villages. You act like that's a bad thing. I'm not having this conversation with you. In either case, we're all here now. We can at least exchange information. What level are you? Tobirama asked. Oh, I'm a level 7. How about you guys? I am a level 9, said Madara. I'm a level 8. So we're all relatively close. I will say, if we are trying to defeat the Devil King, would say Tobirama, maybe us joining together isn't so bad. After all, we are all shinobi, and we come from the same village. We are the Hidden Leaf, and we should stick together. Wait, so I can join you guys? Jiraiya would say. Well, where have you been all this time? Madara would ask. You've been bumming around, haven't you? Yeah, I have. Madara shook his head. It was like collecting lost puppies. He didn't really want to, but it was a fellow countryman, and if they were going to defeat the Devil King, they needed all the help they could get. If this guy really was a student of a former Hokage that could be vouched for by Tobirama, then he had to have some skill and merit. With that, Jiraiya would join the group, and just in time, the alarm would go off in the village, because they were under attack. One of the Devil King's generals, the one known as Sylvia. She was engaged in battle against the likes of Darkness. That was until the group would arrive and Sylvia would feel the need to have to retreat. Of course, though, in the presence of Madara, Sylvia would have to take a mental note. That was the one that killed the Dullahan Verdia, as well as the poisonous slime Hans. His name was starting to grow in recognition all throughout the world, and he wasn't someone to be taken lightly. Of course, Madara wanted to know who the hot babe was, though. The one in the armor, as Jiraiya would help her off her feet. Hi, I'm Darkness. Darkness. Strange name for someone as bright and as beautiful as you are. You tease. I don't. I must say, you are definitely a woman befitting that of a warrior, a crusader. Well, Jiraiya was turning on the sweet talk. Everyone decided to go back home and turn in for the night. Safe to say, Madara, as he went back to the little room he was staying in Megumin's house, figured that things weren't so bad after all. I mean, maybe they could get rid of another general, and that could truly level him up. He already had the 3 Tomoe Sharingan. However, trying to activate the Mangekyo was a different story. He already vowed to take a different path. He wasn't going to try to do something like kill his best friend or watch his best friend die. Those days were behind him. But was there even another way to gain the MS? I mean, come on. Is there really another way out there in the world to gain a Mangekyo Sharingan that doesn't involve negative emotions? Hold a pin in that thought, Madara. We might be able to come back to that someday. Of course, Kazuma in the meantime was reflecting on his feelings as he once again found himself sharing a room with Megumin. Megumin as well was also receptive to Kazuma, the two getting a little closer together. If Madara found out about this, he was probably going to kill him. Just them being able to hold hands and be this close, well, he was probably pushing the edge. However, before anything else could happen, the alarms went off once again. Everyone came rolling out in their pajamas looking for a fight, Sylvia not looking to take the disrespect from Kazuma any further, as she came to realize the boy was not that impressive, especially with such a small sword. However, Megumin would take exceptions to those words. No one made fun of Chun Chun Maru. Jiraiya and the others would join them quickly after, with Jiraiya stepping forward before everyone. He had a way of dealing with female enemies. He told everyone to relax and to leave this to him. "Hey, yo, Sylvia," Jiraiya would say as he walked forward to the tall, tanned woman. I must say, a woman as beautiful as you, serving as the Double King's general, you could achieve so much more. You believe that? Kazuma was a little bit jealous. I can sense the glares from your friend. I've never had multiple men seek after me before. Well, what can I say? You're hot, Kazuma would say, getting him a deathly glare from Megumin. Jiraiya as well would move closer to her, finding himself being wrapped by tentacles. Okay, this was weird, but before he could finish that thought, his face was between two large, soft, round mounds. Based on the size and diameter, the circumference, the perkiness, the tip slope, this is beyond 106. This is a 212. Unhand him, Darkness would say. Hold that thought. Yeah, I think I'm onto something. Darkness wanted to move forward, but Kazuma stopped her. No. Let him cook. Cook? What exactly is he cooking? He's cooking his way to that girl's heart. At the right moment, we should be able to strike. You know, guys, on second thought, I don't think we need to fight, Jiraiya would say. What? Yeah. God could get used to this. Jiraiya's face was in heaven. He couldn't believe this. He never thought he could experience something like this in his life. He wanted to cry. If only Naruto could see him now, to see how far he's coming. Jiraiya then had to look up. Madara could only shake his head. With his Sharingan activated, he was able to see things rather clear, and once he whispered it to Tobirama, who whispered it to Aqua, who whispered it to Megumin, who whispered it to Kazuma, and who whispered it to Darkness, their mouths were wide open, and Jiraiya was the last one to realize. Sylvia? Yes, darling. Why is there something poking me in the back? It is. Well, safe to say on this trip, we now have two people who are scarred for life. Sylvia slinking off with Jiraiya in tow, Kazuma being the first one to chase after, as Madara and Tobirama were prepared to follow, but then the village found itself being swarmed by multiple general soldiers, and, well, they found themselves in the fight of their life. Kazuma going to be the one to the rescue, Jiraiya too much in shock to even try to free himself. As they were taken to an old and abandoned factory that was said to house the powerful mage-killing weapon, well, Jiraiya finally snapped back to his senses, readying himself for battle against Sylvia. Sylvia revealing that she was a chimera, which means she assimilated all of the parts of herself, including the voluptuous breast that he loved so much, and was even able to get their size right down to the last centimeter. Don't give me credit for that. I can't help it. I was born this way. Yes. You have nothing to worry about. I didn't come to fight you. You're actually after that weapon, huh? Kazuma would say. Hey, yo, Kazuma, Jiraiya would say to him. You're pretty good. Didn't think you could follow us this fast. Yeah, well, I had practice. Step aside. Kazuma would take hold of the controller. Well, Jiraiya and Sylvia didn't know it was a gaming controller, but Kazuma did. Perks for being reincarnated from a regular world. It was easy for him to figure out how to open up the door, and Sylvia was all too thankful. That was until Kazuma kicked her back down into the dark dungeon and quickly shut the door behind him, with Jiraiya destroying the door, making sure that she couldn't escape. The two racing outside happily, feeling pretty accomplished about themselves. Yeah, it was a piece of cake, nothing we couldn't handle. She's trapped inside of there, and she can never get out. She'll just rot in there until she dies, Jiraiya would say. The other members of the village would be very impressed, although they didn't think that they would seal her inside with the mage-destroying weapon. Oh, it was no big deal, Jiraiya would say. Just the work of your everyday shinobi and your everyday adventurer. Then Madara shook his head. Wait a second. What did you say was sealed in there? The mage-killing weapon? Repeat that one more time. The mage-killing weapon. And what's Sylvia? Chimera? That does what? Assimilates? And again, where did you lock her? Inside with the mage-killing weapon, with the chimera that can assimilate things into her. Immediately, the factory behind them would burst open, as Sylvia with a long chimera snake-like tail would emerge. Oh, so that's the mage-killing weapon, and the whole thing's been assimilated into the chimera, Madara would say to them all. Run for your lives! Safe to say, everyone would run in that moment, Sylvia moving to the village and burning it down with a quickness. That weapon was very powerful. Even for Madara, for Tobirama, for all their skills, they didn't have anything big enough to fight against her. Madara couldn't help but curse under his breath. If only he had his Susanoo right now. But he didn't unlock enough skill points to gain that power yet. He looked over to Aqua, giving her a cursed look. You just had to make a world with this sort of power system, didn't you? Don't blame me. It's not my fault. I'm just a goddess who sends people to other worlds. It's not my responsibility. You never take responsibility for anything. In that very moment, both Vanir and Wiz were arriving to the village as well. You see, there were the craftsmen that Vanir wanted to visit about getting some supplies made for the shop. Although, once you see that the whole place is up in flames, that idea kinda goes out the window. Wiz would use her ice magic to freeze some of the fire, creating an opening as she saw others attempting to escape, among them being Madara, who quickly ran over to her. Wiz! Madara! Hi, how are you? Hey, is that... Oh, Sylvia! Hi, Sylvia! Hey, no, don't give her our location! You... Hi? You have some nerve showing your face around here. Sylvia was not too keen on seeing Wiz, or on seeing Vanir for that matter. Two former generals of the Devil King, now gallivanting, working in a little ins and outs shop, all without a care in the world. While Wiz was definitely understanding the Sylvia's plight, holding true to her creed, she could not allow for the innocent to be harmed. As such, Wiz and Vanir would move to the defense of the people, even while Sylvia, in her chimera-merged form, using the mage-destroying weapon, wreaked a rampage all across the Crimson Demon's village. Madara and the others would attempt to hold their own, as Megumin would mention that there was an old stone tablet that spoke of a prophecy in case this event were to ever occur. Stone tablets that spoke of future events? Wow, was this world just a carbon copy of his own or what? Or were it inspired by different elements? All the same, they would split up into different groups. Darkness going alongside with Wiz and Vanir to hold off Sylvia, as well as get the evacuation party going, to get as many of the innocents out of the city as possible, while Madara and the others went to the stone tablet. Unfortunately, there were only a few people who could actually read the kanji, that being Kazuma, Madara, Aqua, who was versed in any universal language, and Jiraiya. Of course, it meant that Megumin couldn't read it, and it was for the best, because the same old coot who got drawn to this world and built the Mobile Fortress Destroyer created the Crimson Demons and all of their odd quirks that they inhabited. And he also created the Mage Destroying Weapon, but he had a counter for it, that being in the form of the Railgun, the gun that was used by the clothing shopkeeper as a drying rod. Well, knowing what they needed to grab, Tobirama would move to go and grab the device, although how they were going to use it, they weren't entirely sure. Although, oddly enough, it would come in the form of Megumin, using an explosion that was seemingly able to charge the gun. Of course, it all came down to who was going to take the shot, and Kazuma had everything lined up, ready to claim his glory, as he was about to be a part of a team that killed a third general. Or at least he would have liked to believe he was, as Komiko would end up pressing the firing button, a loud shooting beam of light coming from the railgun as it pierced Sylvia right in the heart. For a brief moment, all seemed well, everyone believing that they had gotten the victory and that the worst of their problems were over. At least, that's what I'd like to tell you. Sylvia was one tough individual. Her yearning to live, to find purpose and meaning in her life, far greater than that of anything else, perpetuated her spirit to keep going and to not cross over to the other side. But on the contrary, not only did she live, but she pulled the souls of both Verdia the Dullahan as well as Hans the Slime along with her, all three joining together and becoming an amalgamation of individuals. A monstrous beast merged with all three of their powers. How on earth were they supposed to stop that thing? As the evacuation continued, the power of the Mage Destroying Weapon allowed for Sylvia to cut off access to the magic used by most of the villagers. They had it, they just couldn't summon it forth. All seemed lost, even with Yun putting forth her best efforts, along with Madara, Wiz, Vanir, who had even equipped himself onto darkness, and Jiraiya, all working together. It was now where Jiraiya chose to show off the fruits of his training. You see, the special gift that he was given by Aqua was the ability to imbue animals that had no consciousness with the ability to speak and to make them his summoning creatures. He called forth 2 toads, the large toads in Konosuba, that are typically hunted because they end up becoming man-eating toads that were decked in large garbs of armor, and they could actually speak. "Hey, you guys! Master Jiraiya, you've summoned us forth." "What?" Tobirama would say. "He actually can summon toads here? They don't call me the Toad Sage for nothing. You see that large monster? We need to slow her down before she destroys the village. So you guys are going to help us out, alright?" The toads would nod as they jumped in, using their blades that were attached to the backs of their armor, holding off against the likes of Sylvia as they had to come up with a plan. Wiz could summon all of the residual magic together. If they could focus it into one point, one large attack could finish it off. However, Sylvia had no weakness, no blind spot to take advantage of. And then Kazuma thought for a moment. This was his popular phase. He would tell Aqua to buff up his luck, to buff it up to the highest degree. He was going to need every ounce of luck possible to pull this off. He told Megumin with confidence to use every ounce of energy she had to create the largest explosion possible. Of course, Megumin had her doubts. If she had learned any other skills that could be more useful, but Kazuma would put his hand on her shoulder, telling her he had full confidence. Madara had shown the ability to be able to take a large explosion to morph it into whatever he needed it to be. It was like changing chakra nature, or a change in chakra form to be more specific. Same rules apply with magic. just take a large sum of it and transform it into something else. And Jiraiya had the perfect idea. Kazuma would act as a distraction, allowing for Sylvia to merge with him. He had to use the Kazuma charm, truly convincing Sylvia to allow him to assimilate. The reason being, whatever part of him was attached to her would become the weak spot. And wouldn't you know, he was planted firmly between her round mounds. Off in the distance, Jiraiya would give the young man a salute. He was an inspiration to young men everywhere, a sacrifice that would not be forgotten. With that, as Wiz would summon all of the magic used from all of the villagers, imbuing it into both Megumin and Yunyun, the two girls would combine to create the largest explosion possible. All of the energy directed towards Madara, Jiraiya, and Tobirama. Alright guys, put your hands in the middle with mine. I have a jutsu. If we can merge it with the explosion, and we can land that thing right on her, then there's no way she'll get back up. And what jutsu might that be? It's none other than the Rasengan. That jutsu? Madara would say. The jutsu of Lord Fourth that was carried on by his son. Wait, you meant Naruto? Jiraiya would say. Yes, he's the one that helped defeat Madara. No way. A smile of pride would appear on Jiraiya's face. You were able to defeat Madara Uchiha. Naruto, you truly are a child of miracles. All three shinobi would put their hands in the center, absorbing the large explosion. Jiraiya changing the explosive energy into that of a giant Big Ball Odama Rasengan, or, as they would dub it, Ninja Art Explosive Crimson Rasengan. The large spiraling red ball that was adorned with multiple colors that loomed on the edges was carried in one hand. Tobirama could use the flying Raijin to get them close, and Madara, using his Sharingan, would deliver the finishing strike. As the toads would move out of the way, Jiraiya de-summoning them to avoid them being killed, Tobirama used the flying Raijin along with Madara, getting them in close enough for a point-blank range strike. Sylvia would create a barrier, attempting to fend off the large, explosive, multicolored Rasengan, Madara slamming it forth with everything he had. Of all the jutsus he could use, it just had to be this one. Or maybe it was poetic that this would be the jutsu that would give them the victory. As Sylvia continued to hold up her defenses, it was soon becoming apparent her weak spot was starting to give way, where Kazuma was seated. Even as Sylvia was engulfed by the Rasengan, as she met her end, she could not deny that she still had a great deal of love in her heart, even for the one that toyed with it. In the flash of the final attack, the Rasengan would swallow whole Sylvia and the fused generals, destroying them and leaving nothing behind. The people of the village cheered, as standing as the smoke cleared and the dust settled, with an arm badly burnt, was none other than Madara Uchiha. Thankfully, Kazuma's luck had been boosted so high by Aqua that there was, whatever you wanted to call it, of him that remained. Enough of him that Eris was able to revive and bring him back. The people of the village were eternally grateful to Megumin, Yunyun, Madara, and to everyone that had fought beside them. Especially to Madara, they were enamored with the Sharingan. It was almost like he was one of them. That was why, for a village that never had last names and never took them, They asked Madara for permission. From now on, they would carry a last name. Every Crimson Demon would now be known by the name Uchiha. Of course, Madara was taken back by this, and he wanted to deny them so much, believing that having a name like that could only bring undue harm and destruction. But when Megumin herself even convinced him, he agreed. Uchiha patches were made and placed on the back, as Madara explained the reason for it. It was a fan that stoked the fires within them. For being an Uchiha, and for being a Crimson Demon, you could say it was almost one and the same. To have great love for your friends and family, to have total belief in oneself, to never settle for anything less but to be the very best that you could be. As long as they could adhere to those credences, then Madara would be honored for them to bear the name Uchiha. From there, the Crimson Demon clan would now be known as the Uchihas, the Crimson Demons of the West, who wielded great magic and power, who fed into the hearts of their darkness that was deeper than deep, blacker than black, that was greater than the stars above, and you get the idea. Madara smiling as everyone took to creating newer and cooler intros, now displaying the name Uchiha proudly. I must say, Tobirama would chime in, to see more people bearing the name Uchiha is definitely something else. It doesn't matter. I have faith in them. I know that they will bear my name well. Alright guys, let's go home. With Wiz using her teleportation spell, everyone would return to the country of Axel. Now with someone new joining the party, that being in Jiraiya, the Toad Sage. He had a long conversation with Kazuma. He saw a lot of potential in the boy. He reminded him of a certain someone in certain ways. Even if he was in the body of a teen, he still had years of experience. And that was the type of experience he wanted to pass on to him. On one particular day, as everyone was getting ready to enjoy lunch, as they were sitting on the beautiful hilly side of the country of Axel, Madara watched as Kazuma and Megumin stood together side by side. He couldn't tell what they were saying or what they were doing, allowing for them to have their private conversation. He saw as Megumin handed him her card. What was he thinking? He wondered. What could she be up to? Kazuma did something with it before handing it back to Megumin, who lowered her hat before preparing her staff. Everyone watched as Megumin prepared to launch what she believed would be her final explosion. However, that explosion would be far from the last. An explosion that was able to shape even the clouds themselves, that lit up the very sky brighter than any sun. When the smoke finally took shape, what stood in the sky, a heart made in the clouds. While laying on the ground exhausted and tired, Megumin was happy to be herself. She couldn't think of being anyone. With a loud cry, she yelled, "My name is Megumin Uchiha, greatest of all of the Crimson Demons, master of explosions!" Kazuma helped her to her feet, carrying her back with the others as lunch was made. Madara smiled proudly, as on the back of Megumin's cape, displayed for all to see, the crest of the Uchiha, flying proudly. Madara looked to the sky, seeing what was the aftermath of the greatest of explosions. In his opinion, that was worth over 1,000,000 points. This concludes Konosuba, The Last Shinobi of the Wonderful World, the movie Heart of Crimson. What if Madara Uchiha was reincarnated in Konosuba? But anyway, that's going to do it for the end of today's video. Thank you all so much for your support and for being a part of this series. And I promise you, Season 3 will be around sooner than you think. But anyway, that's going to do it for the end of today's video. I'm Javon Harrington with Power Core Productions and Podcastings. Signing off, and I'll see you next time.